Hello, my name is Ronan Manley, Precious Metals Analyst at BullionStar in Singapore. What's happening right now in the silver market is literally unprecedented, and we could be on the verge of an historic change in the way the silver market functions. You're probably aware that in the last 2 weeks, a large group of day traders and retail investors on online discussion board Reddit, principally under the banner of Wall Street Bets, have taken on Wall Street short-selling hedge funds by buying up shares in companies such as GameStop and AMC, and in the process sending the share prices of these stocks multiples higher. As well as a profit motive, the Wall Street Bets grouping is also making a statement against the Wall Street establishment, and they could even be called a new movement, a new anti-Wall Street movement. And critically now, this same grouping, which is growing even larger every day, has turned its attention to the silver market. And their plan, which is already happening right now, as you can see with the rising silver price, is to create a short squeeze in the silver market, both a short squeeze in the silver price and also by buying up available physical silver supply. And impressively, this Wall Street Bets group, which has now grown momentum and triggered a larger investor base coming in, knows that the silver market, as it exists today, is a paper market that is heavily controlled and shorted by the bullion banks in both London and New York, and that any chance of success in creating a real silver squeeze, a real short squeeze in the silver market, is by buying up available physical silver supply. Let's look for a minute at why this new silver squeeze movement has chosen the silver market and why it is targeting a silver price squeeze. Simply put, it is because the silver market, like the gold market, is currently structured as a paper or synthetic trading market, and the silver price, like the gold price, does not reflect the reality of the physical silver market. This market, like the gold market, is controlled by a cartel of bullion banks in London and New York under the watchful eye of the world central banks and regulators. And the trading units of both these London and New York markets in gold and silver are synthetic paper products, synthetic paper derivatives, which are fractionally backed and which have very low physical metal underpinnings. Most critically, these bullion banks, which are all investment banks such as JP Morgan, HSBC and Goldman Sachs, control global silver price discovery because they control the silver paper markets, which are dominant in establishing or forming that price, the spot price. This is the same spot price that you see on CNBC or on Yahoo Finance, and it feeds in from the London silver market and from COMEX. These banks control this price because they control the market. They control the market because they're allowed by the regulators and the central banks to trade huge amounts of fractionally backed silver. Not only that, they also control the LBMA silver auction, the daily auction, which establishes a silver price which is used widely around the world as a reference price. Now, these banks are all members of the London Bullion Market Association, which is a global gold and silver industry association, but which is dominated by these banks. These banks are the market makers for the LBMA. These banks also control the vaults in London, which have silver and gold, and they're also the banks involved in the London Precious Metals Clearing Company called LPMCL, which is formed from 5 banks. Currently, it's the usual suspects: JP Morgan, HSBC, UBS, Bank of Nova Scotia, and a relative newcomer, ICB Standard. And not only that, but these same banks control the link between the COMEX silver futures market and the London paper silver market, which is called EFP Exchange For Physical. But it's nothing of the sort. It is not physical. It is exchange. It's a swap that exchanges paper for paper. Not only that, but many of these bullion banks have been fined literally hundreds of millions of dollars by the US Department of Justice, US CFTC, the UK FCA, the Swiss regulator, for manipulating the silver price and gold price over many years in coordinated manipulation schemes, yet they're allowed to continue to control, to dominate the silver market, which is something that is not lost on the Wall Street Bets crowd now that they have taken the silver market as their next target.